So, you have a project in mind. Maybe you're thinking of creating a business. Maybe you already work for a company and have been assigned a new project to create. Maybe you're a freelancer and are just thinking of a new project for whatever freelancing thing you do. Maybe you're creative and you're thinking up of how to ensure success in your next endeavor. Whatever it is, the point is, you're here because you want to ensure that you have checked all of the information that is available out there on the internet for free and informed yourself in preparation for that project that you are embarking on, which is great. And I'm so glad you're doing that. I'm so glad. I love people who take responsibility for the things they do. So if you're here, the main question on your mind right now is, how do I make sure that my project is the best that it can possibly be? How do I increase the chances of this project or endeavor that I'm embarking on succeeding? Well, I'm glad you asked. But first, before we begin, let's get to know each other a little bit more. So, hi there, my name is Maria. I'm so happy to see you here on Life Spirals. I used to be an architect in the past, then I transitioned into a freelance brand designer, which then transitioned me into brand consulting and marketing simultaneously. And what I do now is essentially I am a startup consultant and I structure and set up systems in startups pre-MVP launch, / help them along the way and guide them after they have launched the MVP, kind of oversee them and ensure that all of the processes that have been set up before they launched, we launched, are actually continuing to run smoothly, and any people that get onboarded actually understand what is happening in the startup. So if your quest is to create a good project, you are right to ask a person with an architectural education who currently actively works in startups. But I also want to get to know you as well. So if you would like to, please do leave a little bit of an introduction down in the comments below this video, because I do genuinely want to know what people are getting up to, what especially good humans are creating in this planet, what their intentions are. And just so you know, I have already been putting out quite a few free resources, guidebooks and things like that, which you can find down in the tab link below this video, as well as have created a Discord community to support young entrepreneurs, creatives, and just once again, people embarking on projects, especially if those projects are aligned with what is considered, I guess, the highest path of humanity. So anything aligned with the Sustainability Agenda 2030, which the UN has put out essentially, which you can find out more about in the previous video. But yeah, the Discord community for that is also in the links down below. So once again, introduce yourself in the comments, tell me a little bit about what it is you're doing, why you're doing it, what your general goal and aim is. Maybe tell me a little bit about what your vision for the best path for humanity is. I would be very interested to hear that. And if you would like to, check out the free resources in the link below and do join the Discord community, because I will be putting out a lot more resources as we go along. And this whole video is broken down into a series of smaller videos just so that they're easier to consume. So the video they are watching currently is part 1. The important questions to ask before you actually embark on any project. So let's get straight to the point. One of the biggest issues that people I observe have, and I had personally, I'm no angel myself, I used to make these mistakes. But one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they decide to create something, whether it be a project, an artwork, things like that, is they go into it with just a vague idea. So a person gets inspired, which is great. I'm all for inspiration. And I think that any inspired action will turn out into something useful. But just because it's useful doesn't mean it's successful, because useful can also be a mistake. Mistakes are also useful. Pitfalls, failures are also useful because they exist to extract lessons from them, scrap that idea, and go and make something that will actually succeed. So just because inspiration is useful doesn't mean it's successful. So one of the biggest downfalls of any project is only going into it with inspiration and a vague idea instead of setting out a particular goal. And although right now I am going to spiral back into the motivations aspect of creating a project, that is just something that I would like to preface with to make sure that it is something that you keep in mind throughout and make sure that it sticks in your brain, that any project requires a precise and measurable goal. Got it? But so now, let's spiral back. So you got the inspiration to do something, which is amazing, great. I'm so proud of you. But the first most important question to ask is, what is actually the purpose behind your actions? And that is a question that you should be asking throughout the whole project. Either way, at any stage, at any step, is why are you actually doing what you are doing? What is the purpose and the intention behind what it is you are creating? Because, okay, inspiration is just, the sensation that you're being initiated into action, that, yeah, my hands are itching, I want to do something great. But then, what is actually the purpose behind the form that you are trying to express the initiation of greatness into? Who is it serving? How is it informed by your own personal background? Or what issue is it tackling? And if you don't have an answer to those questions, don't worry, it's fine. We will just have to spiral back a little bit more first and ask a preparation question, which is, what is a problem that you have solved in your own life? Let's start with that. What problems have you actually managed to effectively tackle in your own life? Because you know what we can do with that question is take that to decide on at least the direction in which you can start thinking and start pursuing and going and creating projects in. Because if you have solved that problem in your own life, you don't have the total expertise in the area until you have solved other people's similar problem, but still, the fact that you have solved it in your own life means that there are very, very high chances that there's at least a few other people in this world who exist in a similar context to you, who have come across a similar problem to you. Therefore, if you have solved that problem in your life, you can help those people that had this exact same problem in a similar context to you in their life, and you can solve that problem for them. So you can start acting on the inspiration and the initiation that I solved this problem for myself. Now I am going to find ways to solve a similar problem for others. Now, returning to the idea of purposeful action, one of the best tools that possibly exists out there to discover the purpose, whether it is the purpose of your life even, or whether it is a purpose of the actions that you're taking or the project that you're creating, is the practice of IKIGAI. And IKIGAI, in its essence, is a Japanese term that means a sense of purpose and determination in your life, a sense of purposeful action in itself. It is a combination of what the world needs, what you love, what you're good at, and what you can get paid for. So to find the purpose behind your life, behind your actions, you need to essentially answer those 4 questions. First, well, third, I guess, because I have already given you 2 other questions, but you get the point. So, what does the world need? What do you love? What are you good at? And what can you get paid for? Where if we break it down a bit further, what you're good at and what you love is essentially your passion. What you're good at and what you can get paid for are the possible professions that you can have. What you can get paid for and what the world needs is, in essence, any vocation or any employment, and the combination of what you love and what the world needs is the key to finding a mission. So through analyzing your ikigai, looking at what experience you actually have in solving your own problems or the problems of other people, is pretty much what prepares you for what the purpose behind your actions, your projects, whatever it is you're doing is. Next, prior to actually embarking on the project, it is very, very important to assess what expertise and knowledge you have and in what niches and areas. And you need to ask yourself that question to first determine what would be the most optimal form that the project can take. So once again, finding the direction for your project. And second, once you have actually found a direction and a form that your project will take, to actually accurately and realistically assess how much of the project can you do yourself, how much of the project you're actually capable of doing, and what aspects of the project will you need external help with, or what aspects of the project do you maybe not have the expertise to tackle yet, but through getting further education can also acquire and therefore accomplish. And in relation to that, another good question to ask is what niche or area of expertise or of general study are you actually curious about and want to enter but maybe don't have the capability or the knowledge to yet? Because that area of interest, so something that inspires and pulls you, but maybe you just haven't had the time to set some time aside to study or pursue, could also assist you in finding the best direction to take for your project. Because through aligning the expertise that you have already and the niches and areas that you are already knowledgeable in with the expertise, niche or area that you're interested in eventually pursuing, you can essentially use the project that you're creating as a tool to transition from one area of study, from one niche to a different niche, which is also great because then not only is it conducive to your own self-development, but can also help other people through whatever mission you have set and whatever purpose you have set behind your project. The next question to ask is, what bottlenecks exist in both your previous niche and in the new niche that you're pursuing? And for those who don't know, a bottleneck is essentially just any hiccup in a system that slows down the processes within the system. So a bottleneck is essentially just a slightly different variation of a problem in a niche. It's just a problem in a niche can sometimes get interpreted as something that is currently already a problem that is already absolutely on fire and stopping all of the processes, whereas a bottleneck is essentially an area of inefficiency within a system. So a little bit different, but essentially, what are the problems in both your prior area of expertise and your new area of pursuit? And then from that, think about, can your expertise from your prior niche or area of interest aid and resolve the bottlenecks and problems in your new pursuit, in your new area of expertise and topics of interest? So how can you essentially apply one to the other to once again essentially transition from one stage of your expertise, of your experience, to a different stage of expertise and experience? And vice versa, how can your new pursuit, your new area of interest assist your development in, let's say, the work or the job that you're doing right now? And the next very important thing to ask yourself is, are you making any assumptions about the niche that you're entering or the project that you're embarking on? So do you actually know enough about the topic area, the subject area, or the niche once again, or just in general, the space, even maybe physical space, to actually make an accurate assessment and to actually ensure that the work that you're doing will pay off? Or do you need to conduct more research and study that niche or area more closely first in order to understand it properly before you actually enter it. Because honestly, this is something that was my own pitfall at a point a few years back as well, where I was like, I'm an architect right now, but I'm also very interested in mental health. I know, I'll create a mental health app. And all was good. I still created that like chatbot algorithm, which combines like cognitive behavioral therapy and NLP, whatever. But, for some reason, it just absolutely totally slipped my mind to realistically look at the fact that there's already so many mental health apps out there. Literally anybody who's not lazy has already tried to create a mental health app. So, it was not particularly a mistake because it was an extremely useful experience as it ended up actually getting me into IT and software development. But, if I just looked at the things properly and besides just looking at the market, actually realistically spoke to myself and analyzed how realistic my chances of actually creating some like outstanding app are that hasn't already been attempted by somebody else, and actually look through all of the apps that exist properly and realize that all of the ideas that I had for the app that I was going to create have already been tried by someone else. Like if I just did more in-depth research of what actually already exists in the niche, I wouldn't have spent half a year trying to do the thing that I did. And then after I made that mistake myself, what I have done is essentially spend the next year just observing a bunch of other entrepreneurs, IT people, computer people, and even architects. That is a mistake that gets made by architects as well, and by creatives as well. I just realized that I have been spending the next 2 years just observing so many young and inspired people do this exact same mistake that I did, where they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to create a fintech app, but because it's me, it's going to be so different from anything that anybody has ever made before. And then just watching them go into networking events and realizing that there's 5 other guys who literally had the exact same idea with the exact same capabilities, who are doing the exact same thing as they are, and then just either get let down, get disappointed, or decide to pursue their aspiration only to then realize that they cannot actually get any funding because there's probably a good reason why the capabilities that the guy has come up with have not already been implemented by some massive other tech giant, and why people are not wanting to sponsor projects that have those particular innovative capabilities. But anyway, you know what? I'm not here to discourage people. So if you truly believe that you have something absolutely amazing, outstanding, and innovative, fully go for it, but just make sure that you assess and do your research to find out, first of all, why is nobody else doing it if nobody else is doing it? And second of all, if other people are doing it, how realistic are your own personal chances of actually standing out from the crowd? Or what could you then do to ensure that even if you're doing the same thing as other people are doing, that you are the one that succeeds? So that can also add to your areas of research in preparation for the project that you're planning to do. So after all of that is said and done, the next important question to ask and research is what companies actually operate in the niche that you are trying to pursue. So now that you have already decided on the niche, on the purpose of your project, on roughly what it will be that you will be creating, study what companies are related to that field. What are those companies actually interested in, and what problems those companies encounter? Because the problems and bottlenecks that those companies have can also be another guiding light in your pursuit of the solution or the innovation or the idea that you're trying to implement. And then you can dive even deeper and ask of those companies, who are the customers, who are the buyers and the users of those companies, and what problems do those people have? what bottlenecks do those people have in their own personal lives, in their lives related to those companies, in their family lives, in just all of the areas of their lives. Because that is another guiding light for what it is you could be doing, for what features you could be implementing in your project, or for, even just what you can use to leverage for the marketing of your project. If, let's say, your project is not like a startup or a business, but it is instead like a creative pursuit, studying what companies operate in the area of creativity that you're pursuing, who are the giants there already, and studying who are the customers, the actual buyers of the things that those giants put out, and what the pain points of those buyers are, can be massive clues to the best ways to actually market the product or the artwork or the project that you are creating. But that is for the future. I will actually be putting out a marketing guidebook as well, but most likely it will be on the Discord channel, not on the tap link. So, I'm just saying, check out the Discord, but check out the tap link as well. But in essence, this part of the preparation work is all about becoming absolutely obsessed with the people, with the users of the project that you're creating, with the consumers, with the viewers of the project that you're creating. Because this is probably the biggest key that I or anybody else who is in some way doing projects, startups, creative pursuits can tell you, is that the biggest key to success is to be absolutely user and customer obsessed. Study them to the deepest depth. Find out all of their pains, all of what they like, what they don't like. Always create a user profile and always actually conduct studies of the user and the customer and the buyer. And I'm sorry, but this is my own pain. Okay, this is my own pain point, is that from the startups that I have consulted so far, so few of them have actually properly studied the user. Only one, and that is the one that has actually succeeded, that I have actually decided to stick with and haven't given up on, has actually done their user and client research properly. There's another one that I'm working on right now, and I'm trying really hard to pretty much do the user research for them, because I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't be ranting here, but the founder of the startup that I'm working on right now, they just came up with some user out of thin air, which is like, okay, yeah, sure, I'm sure those people exist, but it's like, do you not want to actually survey them? Do you not want to actually find people like that and ask them like open questions to find out if they actually need the product, and to find out what would actually be the best marketing strategy for them? No, you don't want to do that? Okay, sure. I mean, there is the approach of Steve Jobs that it's like, oh yeah, the people don't know what they want themselves until you sell it to them. But the issue is, okay, let me get real here. Let's say that your product itself, the project itself, doesn't have to particularly serve a pain point of the end user, because that is what a lot of corporations and companies do, is that they essentially create problems for the user just to sell the product to them. But it is such an important part of marketing. And I'm sorry, but in the capitalist world, marketing is pretty much everything. With good marketing, you can sell even a piece of crap from the street. So either way, you need to study your user, whether it is to actually create a product that properly serves them and actually has been made for a good reason, or whether it is just to make sure that whatever product it is that you have created actually gets sold. You need to study and become obsessed with the user, at least for the marketing. Okay. I hope I'm persuasive enough with this point. Study the user. Either way, even if your product doesn't solve the problem, study the user anyway, because then you need to use that for marketing. And besides the user, also study the client, because the client is different from the user. The client is the person who pays. The user is the person who uses. And then you also have the sponsors, who are also the people that you need to study, because sponsors are awaiting returns from the project. So if you have, will, or might potentially have any sponsors, study all of those people, the clients, the sponsors, and the users, absolutely obsessively, to make sure that you know how to market it, to make sure that your product actually serves the user well, and to make sure that you can run negotiations properly with the sponsors and get even more sponsors for whatever pursuits or projects you have. So yeah, just be people-oriented is essentially what I'm saying. Be people-oriented, really fall in love with people and study them in depth. So those are all just the core key preparation questions to ask before you even embark on the project or on the process of creating the product that it is that you're wanting to create. And those are all very, very essential key steps to take at the very, very beginning to make sure that your project does not fail further down the line. In the next video, I will go into the actual project ideation and design processes. So I know that the videos are short, but once again, I'm just trying to make them easier to consume. So if you haven't actually been doing so during this video, please go back through the questions, write all of them down, and make sure that you actually go through the process of answering them for yourself, for your project, for your company, whatever it is you're pursuing. And yeah, once again, in the next video, I will actually go through the project structuring and ideation process. So I'll see you there.